approached by government to handle the international years declared by the United Nations. We did International Year of the Child, we did International Year of the Elderly, and so on. But the one that haunts my memory, because it was such a learning experience, was the International Year of the Disabled Person. Now, at the time, like most young people, I felt eternal and indestructible, and I looked at disability as something that other people had, little realising that as the years passed, one by one, many of the disabilities we were trying to educate the public about would assail me. Then I became a classic deaf person myself. Little by little, I lost my hearing and refused to admit that I had. It was particularly difficult for someone working in radio, because I absolutely depend on hearing what people are saying to me if I'm interviewing them. But just by turning up the headphones, I was able to pretty much get through it in a way to fake it. And in my private life, when I was out of the studio, I just refused to acknowledge that day by day, week by week, year by year, I was getting deafer and deafer and deafer and driving my nearest and dearest crazy. So I was bullied and forced, coerced into going along to have my ears tested, and lo and behold, they were pretty crook. So then I discovered this extraordinary world of the audiologist and an industry which caused me growing concern. I met some very nice people. They did all sorts of tests on me. They presented me with instruments. They were always called instruments, not hearing aids, that were okay, but I was always troubled by them technically, because it seemed to me they amplified everything. They weren't particularly selective, and so background noise came up and continued to drown out what you wanted to hear. But I was also suspicious of the structure of the industry, because it seemed to me it was a vertically integrated monopoly. It was an industry where the relationships between the people that I'd sit down and be tested by and the manufacturers and distributors of the hearing aids themselves. And of course, I was quite astonished by how expensive these things could be. I was pressured into buying hearing aids for $10,000. And I knew friends in the family who could not afford that had also paid $10,000. But I couldn't see that was justified for a moment. I wrote a rather funny but mildly indignant newspaper column about it, which introduced me to a couple of very interesting people at this organisation, and I realised that they were challenging this verticality, this cosy relationship. So here was another company who, it seemed to me, had done two things. First of all, their hearing aids actually seemed superior. They seemed to me to be more selective in what they were transmitting into my brain. They were not amplifying everything in an unselective way, but seemed to be curiously intelligent and more helpful. And secondly, they were setting up a business model which was very challenging to the comforts and the traditions of an industry which really hadn't been under challenge for many, many years. And that's why I'm sitting here today, because I don't do endorsements. I've never done one, as far as I can remember, until this one. And I'm doing it because I'm very impressed with the company. I think their product is terrific. And by dealing directly with the public, by going around an industry which I'm sure is furious to have them challenging the cosy arrangements, they're not charging $10,000 or $9,000 or $8,000 or $7,000 or $6,000. They are offering state-of-the-art, cutting-edge hearing aids, instruments, at a very, very low price. And therefore, they're doing a great job for this community. And I wish them every success, and I hope that this Australian company goes on to make waves around the world. The future for the hearing aid industry is, of course, enormous, as people living longer, getting older, having decades of extra life with all sorts of impairments, including, of course, hearing troubles. But there's another problem at the other end of the scale, and that is people like me who, in their 50s, have got a real issue, but pretend they haven't or refuse to acknowledge it. And I urge them not to be so damned silly. You're not only making your own life much more difficult than it needs to be, because there is life after death, but you're making the life of your colleagues, your family, your friends, very much more difficult as well. Now, they might love you, or at least like you, but it doesn't mean they like your denialism. It doesn't mean that they don't find it terribly irritating to deal with some character who pretends he or she can hear when they damn well can't. And I speak with great authority because I was such a fool. I want you to get a pair of these wonderful little gizmos I've got stuck in my ears, because suddenly, you will be fully alive again. You'll be able to respond, interact, enjoy life and your acquaintances and your colleagues so much more than before. It's so damned easy. Why do we put it off? So don't put it off. Do me a favour. Do it now.